Welcome back to IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 12. In this segment, I'm chatting with AK Srikanth, CEO of KLAY Preschools and Daycare, on the growth and evolution of early education in India and the challenges in this sector. Of course, advice for small businesses aiming to enter this industry. Listen in. Mr. Srikanth, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
So to begin with, tell us, how do you view the current state of the early education sector in India? What trends do you see shaping its future?
So in a nutshell, if I was to answer that, I'd probably say we're going in a direction of more organized spaces as opposed to having multiple mom and pop preschools mushrooming all over the place. And I think a large part of this impetus is because of the new education policy, which came about in 2020, which for the first time, I think we have preschools and early childhood education being formalized in a way in tandem with how K-12 schools are regulated. So this kind of framework and this kind of a regulation is making it a very conducive space for the larger, more serious players to be able to provide their best services. And even, I think, smaller players who are serious about the business, definitely it gives them loads of opportunity. So I think it's a space which is marked with a lot of awareness amongst people, helped by no less measure by the fact that the new education policy is being implemented as we speak across the country. So I think there's a very positive outlook for early childhood education as a space.
Now, I understand you have about 160 centers across 19 cities. And with that, KLAY has grown significantly over the years. KLAY's revenue also grew from 42 crores in FY21 to 200 crores in FY 2023. What would you say are the factors that contributed to this growth?
I think, dovetailing with what I said earlier, the awareness of the importance of early childhood education in the minds of the consumers, I think, is primary. We have more and more people looking at this sector as a very important part of their child's growth trajectory, as opposed to just being viewed as something where children, come and spend some time and go. It is, it's been documented and said many times that a child's largest amount of brain development happens before the age of 5. I think publicizing this view through media, through scientific articles, through conferences has given parents the right perspective to view this space. And of course, parents today are discerning. They are looking for quality. Much more than, just something where they can leave their child behind while they go back to work. And I think it's their changing perceptions and their changing demands of what their child needs to get from a school of this type has benefited us, because we've invested very heavily into the operations of the institute, of the enterprise itself. And so over the last 13 years in our journey, I think that's been the most important facet of what we do, the operations, the engine behind it, the curriculum behind it. And I think that is what is paying us dividends now.
With over 25 years of global experience across diverse companies like Nestle, Cleveland Clinic and OCS, Mr. Srikanth, tell us, how have your past roles influenced your approach to leading KLAY?
So I spent various stages of my career in these companies that you just mentioned, although I was the leader for OCS at the time that I was there. So through these companies, I think I got a very good grounding on the importance of processes, the importance of sticking to processes, the importance of making processes that stand the test of time, and also giving the importance of adherence to a large number of employees so that we're all talking the same talk and walking along the same direction. Those experiences are what have helped me lead KLAY to a large extent.
Wonderful. And now, how is KLAY adapting to the increasing role of technology in children's early learning?
We've had an interesting journey as far as technology goes. Pre-pandemic, we were advocates of no screen time. So you would have found that none of our centers actually have any screens on them. Come the pandemic, since the whole system closed down, we were forced to recalibrate our own thoughts, and we were actually delivering our curriculum online through online means. And I think what we've come out with in 2022 when we reopened is that we're not taking either end of the spectrum. We think that technology is a great enabler in the classroom, although it cannot substitute the physical classroom. So we're always trying out new methodologies of how we can incorporate technology into a classroom, whether it means what are the possibilities with AI and virtual learning, how can we integrate that into our curriculum in a meaningful way, not just for the sake of having it there. And also on the back end, from a parent experience point of view, can we have a single platform where they can get all the answers, not just with the administrative aspects of their child at KLAY, but also in terms of information, in terms of webinars, in terms of tips on parenting, because many of our parents are actually first-time parents, counseling sessions. So we are able to bring all these integrated in a way and are still attempting to do so. The journey is far from complete. I think technology is playing its part in almost every facet of what we do.
Now, given the growing number of preschools and daycare providers in India, how does KLAY plan to differentiate itself in this sector?
All preschools, all these institutions which you find turning up, fundamentally operate on what? On giving a safe and a learning environment to children. Now, that learning environment which we're talking about comes as a consequence of what we teach, how we teach them. And I think at this age, what we try to inculcate in our children is the love of learning rather than ticking off a box that, how many alphabets do you know and how much can you count up to. Of course, those are important, but I think the methodology we've always followed is we let the child gravitate towards the learning methodology that she feels most comfortable with. Therefore, we do follow what is called the multiple intelligences system. And I think it is this core of our business that has seen us grow and will see us grow. I think we'll invest more and more and more into the core of our business, which is in terms of the curriculum and methods of imparting that curriculum.
Now, with a team of over 3,500 educators, how does KLAY ensure that each teacher is aligned with your vision, with the brand's vision of holistic, inclusive education?
It is definitely a very, very good question, because the organization is only as good as it understands the leader's vision and implements the leader's vision. So our mantra for this has been largely training, communication, and training. So we constantly talk to our people. We constantly train them on how we would like them to operate out of their schools. And in fact, we have an in-house training institute, which is called the IECED. It's a fully a part of the KLAY ecosystem, where we train our teachers, we train our caregivers. Every week we are training them on something or the other. And many a time we have senior leadership members also join in on the training and directly talk to the 3,500 odd employees in batches, of course, to sort of elaborate on our vision and elaborate on the importance of processes towards that vision. So I think it sounds simple enough, although it's a lot of back-end operational work to keep the trainings interesting and keep it ticking. But that I think is the principle we follow.
Right. And what are the biggest challenges, that KLAY is facing today in maintaining high standards?
I think getting talent is definitely one of the most challenging parts of what we face. And unfortunately, in our country, and I guess this is true of many other countries as well, teaching is definitely not one of the most highest paying professions. It takes a certain sort of person to become a teacher, to become a caregiver for these children that we help. And it's a mindset. And finding people with that mindset, I think, remains the biggest challenge.
And finally, what advice would you have for small businesses looking to enter the early childhood education space?
I think there are, as is true of most new businesses, I think there are no shortcuts, and especially so in this one. You've got to invest into quality, into curriculum, into health and safety, and it pays off over a period of time. But it's not something where you put in the money today and hope to make a killing tomorrow. This is not those kinds of businesses. This business needs you to be passionate about the sector, the industry by itself, and that's the only reason why you should be coming inside. You have to be an educator at heart, and you have to have tons of patience in order to be able to come into this. And you've got to be invested in quality to almost an abnormal level. You've got to be an operationally focused to an almost abnormal level. That's the only way that this business makes any sense. And this is true whether you're a newcomer or whether you're an established player.
Fantastic. It was great chatting with you, Mr. Srikanth. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Ritwika. Thank you.
With that, it's a wrap on this episode of IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 12. We hope you enjoyed the conversation. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.